Take your mind into the wonderful world of physical, emotional, psychological, and spiritual wellness. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Kennetic Hour. Conversations with you and guests with your host, Kennan Wesley Mason.
Our Truth's mission is to empower you, the listener, to live the most beautiful life you could possibly live. The mission is to bring as many people as we can back to self, because I think we were so misguided to listen to the thoughts of others or the ideas of others, and it took us away from us. We would like to inspire you to be your authentic self, because there isn't just one truth. We are sharing our truth so that you can find your truth. I really strongly believe that if we all follow our hearts and we are our authentic selves, we are the greatest present to this world and the greatest present to each other.
So, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to another edition of the Kennetic Hour. I am your host, Kennan Wesley Mason. Welcome one, welcome all, and thank you all for tuning in as we are live streaming on Instagram, live streaming on Facebook, and live streaming on LinkedIn. So welcome. Yeah, so welcome to everyone listening. As always, go to my YouTube channels. There's always two. The first one is the Kennetic Hour right here, and that is KENNETIC, the Kennetic Hour. Also, Kennetic Fit and Wellness Info, Kennetic Fit and Wellness Info for everything physical health, mental health, emotional health, spiritual health, and everything that goes along with all of those. Subscribe. Click thumbs up, click the notifications, tell everyone that you know to tune in to the Kennetic Hour, leave comments regarding the comments, and also go to my Rumble channel as well and do the same. Subscribe and click thumbs up. And again, welcome to everyone. There's 1,000 podcasts that you can be listening to, so thank you for tuning in to the Kennetic Hour. And as you can hear and see in the background, my guests today, they're based in Los Angeles by way of Frankfurt, Germany. They've been singing virtually all their lives. They're observers, they're motivational philosophers and speakers, and express themselves in art and poetry and their songwriting. They are the duo of Our Truth, of OurTruthMusic.com. So please welcome to the Kennetic Hour, twin sisters, Corinna and Isabelle Cott. Corinna and Isabelle.
Oh, hello.
How are you? And thank you for tuning in, and thank you for being a part of the Kennetic Hour. Thank you.
Thank you for having us. And also thank you for pronouncing the names right. You have no idea how often that doesn't really work out.
Right.
And while I don't want to judge anyone's, on misunderstanding of how we say it or how it's written or whatever, I so appreciate when I hear it said the way I feel it. So thank you for that. That's amazing.
I appreciate the same thing when people pronounce my name correctly, because it's Kennan.
Okay, good. I did it right.
Yes.
Kennan. Yes,
So
perfect.
I've heard Keenan, I've heard Canaan, I've heard everything other than what it is. So
yeah, it's fascinating. And sometimes I feel like it's that people don't all hear the same.
Yeah.
I can say to someone, my name is Corinna, and they say Corinna, and I say, no, Corinna, and they say Corinna. And by the third time, I'll just say, sure, because I don't, whatever, I let it go. But I am fascinated how the hearing isn't always the same.
Yes. Yeah. People see and hear names differently. So I always want to get people's name correct, just out of respect, all of us have an identity. So it's best to go by that and what it is. I'm glad you two are here. And I've gone through your website and a bunch of other things. The first thing that I want to go to is how you two got started in this journey of eclecticism, if you will, because you have a pretty eclectic website, and we'll get to all of that as we go along. But how did you two get started on this journey? Because from what I was reading, you two have been doing this since you were 8 years of age. So how did this all come about from then up until where you are right now?
Well,
and
I
either
feel.
of you can answer.
Thank you. Do you want to answer, or should I? No, I was going to say, I feel like when we're taking what we do right now, the Our Truth, that really comes from doing music beforehand with someone else and then coming to a place where we were supposed to zero in truly on a contract, where we suddenly noticed we have very different ideas of who we are and where we stand. And in this conversation with, this is your truth, but this is our truth. No, but this is your truth, but this is our truth. We came to Our Truth as the band name that we have now, as the entity that we are, but also because it was so clear at that time and to this day, truth is subjective. It isn't just one thing, except I do believe love is a universal truth. Everything that is alive responds to love. Like if it's nature, animal, children, I see it a lot with adults, whatever. Life responds to love. It resonates, it can be felt, right? Otherwise, everything else is just wherever you come from, however you grew up with, whatever, that becomes your truth. So we came to Our Truth as the eclectic ones, as you call that, good word. I think because authenticity is our number one, right? Like, or aside from love, to be expressing ourselves through this channel that Isabelle and I both, we're very open to let creativity flow through instead of trying for something. And I think that's how the art came into play, of drawing and just letting that flow, and the music that comes through, which is what it is. And what else do we do? Communication that we learned by growing up with a dark background of not being so well taught about communication, but loving each other so much that we want to make this work. And then we had to really zero in, as in what is not working from our childhood, what brought us to be a certain character that actually doesn't work as harmonious as we believe life is meant to be. And that's how we came with the communication and being.
I'm going to jump in now and start a little earlier, because you asked how did this start. So we grew up in a very small town in Germany. It's so small, and we are the singing twins. So we were singing at town events, and we were singing at Christmas parties and whatever. And then our parents were also very, very much into music. Mom was singing to us as babies already, and then continued to teach us songs in harmony. And Dad was also a singer, and he was singing in the choir in town.
And fearless. He was fearless about anywhere singing, dancing.
Yeah, music was always the first thing that was on in the house. Like, my dad would wake up and he would turn on the radio. He would often wake us up with music. We just open all the doors and turn the music up as loud as possible in a house. And so music was always with us. And then we started to translate English songs. We came up with German lyrics because we wanted to have our own song. We didn't speak English in the beginning, as it's German. And then we started to write poetry. We were singing in the school band. Like, it was always there. And then it kind of stopped for a moment, for me at least. Corinna continued, I think, with the music. I stopped because I started to, at some point, I went into the business side of life, and I had a business education and worked in offices and all. And at some point we came back to doing music together again, first with a different band, and then we changed it into Our Truth. And the communication really is those things that we had to, I can say for myself, the things that I had to learn in life in order to come to a peace of mind and heart, which wasn't given due to our upbringing. all these things are now part that I'm sharing, and we are sharing the things that we are working through together, because there's often patterns, if not always. We are adapting patterns from childhood, from how we watch our parents, from how they raise us, on how we feel about them raising us, our worthiness and all, and then they show up in life. At least that's what I watched. So
Right.
these patterns repeat in life until we consciously realize this is what's happening, and then we can make a change. And about all those things we speak. As in the Our Truth series is where we talk about the way we see the world, but also individually, where we both post our thoughts. Philosophers forever, I can say.
Philosophers forever, yeah.
Right. And with the idea of, again, I love the idea of inspiring to find the truth within. So it's not about follow me, I got the answers. No, it's I got my answers.
Right.
And please be inspired to find yours, because it is the greatest joy when I feel like it's just coming from within. And it feels so at peace and supported, and it's in the flow. So,
and I feel like I worked through so much pain and so much suffering, and I came out happy, that I'm happy to share what I learned, because I do want to see a happier world. I love to see happy people, and I'm feeling a lot of things. So it would be nice,
to help out, make a difference,
support. If it is of support, then yay, awesome.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you two have the communication part of that intact. Why did you two separate? Because you said there was like a 10-year gap of you two being disconnected. So what separated you two, and what was the feeling in between with that 10-year gap?
It was circumstantial. It was because Corinna started to live in America with...
I moved away because I didn't know who I am, and I wanted to know. And I felt like my environment is limiting me. And I felt like I'm in this box, and I want to know, who is this?
Yeah.
So I left, and Isabelle, 10 years later, came coincidentally after our father died, and it was like we helped each other.
That wasn't a coincidence.
No, it wasn't a coincidence. I guess that was not the right word to use. Never mind.
Woo! It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah. But it was the inspiration, I think, that moved us into this direction of actually living in the same area again, in the same city.
Yeah. And with that 10-year gap, because it was mentioned that you developed some negative programming or behaviors during that time before you two got together. Is that correct?
I wouldn't say we developed bad behavior in those 10 years. I'd say those were more easy to be identified with, because as a twin, we grew up, and I don't know if it's for every twin, but for us it was like that. Many times we would be thrown in one basket. It's Corinna and Isabelle as one. So in school it would be like, this is your grade. Oh, that's not who I am. Oh no, it's okay, you're the same. So it would be have to fight for, not fight, but it was not that easy to be individual. So when I moved away, I found my individualism. That was the biggest one for me, aside from also feeling the, a certain oppression from how I was growing up on my father's side, and my mother, I felt smothering at the time, where nowadays I appreciate all the love she ever gave. But when I was a teenager, or, like late teens, I was like, I don't want you to do my laundry, I'll do it, like that kind of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
It just, that's how I moved away. But I found me by being away without the ideas of other people telling me who I am. And so I think that the same for Isabelle, the individualism had for the first time the opportunity to become. And then coming back after 10 years, then the old wounds come back, because we, the old programming then came back to our dynamic. And this, for the first time, allowed us to see, hey, that's not right. And then we could change that.
There's definitely something about, if you have distance and you get back together, things are you have a different perspective, and then you can see clearer. And I think the ones closest to us, they do show us core wounds, especially with twins, so similar on the kind of like similar wave.
Mm-hmm.
There was just a lot to work through.
being twins, and coming together to communicate your two different levels of growing up and seeing the world differently as individuals. Um, what strategies or techniques did you two kind of formulate to overcome uh, whatever mishaps that you had, either growing up or after you even came back together after 10 years?
I would say never stop communicating, always get back to love, always forgive, and see your own participation in what's happening. Because if we point finger, and we have done this many times, you are doing, and she says you are doing, and then
how dare you to do that? I would never, which is also crazy.
But we had the consciousness, it was obvious that at some point we are accusing the other of the same thing. So there's something about the pointing the finger and 4 fingers or 3 fingers, pointing at you.
Yeah.
It's like we are part of it.
Yeah, and one big thing I think too is to remember that we love each other, because a lot of times I think in the dynamic of two people having an argument, that it is forgotten at that moment, because a lot of times it is loved ones that argue, right? So when you think about it, it's not that the person's thinking, how can I make you feel bad? Let's see. And then they go for it. No, it's that they have their own trigger and it triggers the other. And then both of their wounded hearts will now speak not as truthful as they would if they would be able to stay in the heart. But in that moment of the ego being triggered and the woundedness, then it just flies off the handle, and then clear communication isn't really possible. So we really worked very hard on remembering we do love each other. And this isn't because I tried to hurt you. This is because I'm hurting and I'm seeing it through you right now, and let's heal, And we know our wounds well, even though we have different wounds, but we did grow up in the same household. So, it makes it maybe easier and harder to heal that stuff.
I think anything, like with any goal you want to reach, if 2 people don't give up, they arrive somewhere. I think easily in relationships, maybe somebody drops it and says, goodbye, I'm done. And then you don't reach common ground. But if you don't give up,
okay too, depending on if it's, what kind of
if 2 people want to make it work, it's possible. And it's possible only by taking responsibility for the experience also. Like there's nothing that happens where I take myself out and now I'm the victim of it. No, I'm a participant. I am aware of it. And there were fights we had in the past where I called the angels in between, please, because I didn't know how to handle it. But instead of walking away and it's my twin sister. So here we're fighting through it.
Well,
go ahead.
No, I was about to say, like, sometimes I know that people walk away from family members, and depending on how they grow up and what's happening to them, I'm not saying that's bad or good, whatever. I don't want to judge their dynamic. But in our dynamic, we grew up being told, always talk, never stop talking, which was a huge gift, I think, for us we really had some dark times together, right? When these old wounds came up and we just did not like each other. But we were taught to never stop. So even if we stop for a day or two, we come back. And when we come back around and we are more at peace again, we can see what's happening, and that allowed a healing in the most magical way. I mean, I say this a lot. I would never be who I am nowadays. Who you see right now is because of her.
Detaching also from
right.
There needs to be some sort of emotional detachment when we are being triggered and when we are being hurt from the other, so that we can clearly communicate. Because when anybody talks with emotions, you never get anywhere. This is how we started out. We tried to, talk it out, and there was no way, because we're both very emotional. And then at some point we just had to let things go and say, okay, let's just move on. But then it shows up again, of course. And you do this over and over until you get a new perspective on it, and we tried a lot of different things. Yeah. This is now 20 years of being together and working through it.
Okay. Wow. 2 decades. Yeah. And it's good that you have that mutual trust with each other, because I know you talked about trust in one of your videos on your site. Why are so many people not trusting? Why? I mean, we're supposed to be in this universe of being connected. So why are so many people not trusting, and where does that come from?
You just said it. Because even though we are in a world where we're all connected, I didn't grow up like this. Did you? Did you grow up? Or maybe some people did. But from my perspective, the majority of people grew up believing that they are separate. This whole I'm very much into the feminine, masculine energy kind of things. But we can just say the separation. Let me just call it the separation and the oneness that we are. But we are both, yes. And from my perspective, the separation is beautiful, so we can experience each other. If we were this one, we wouldn't have the experience of even talking to somebody, because I would just be the field. But I'm also separate of it as an experience. So the world that we live in was very much based on the separation. There was very much a focus on the things we don't want. Like I remember even as a child, when I broke my arm or whatever, this is like exciting news to share. When somebody had an accident, we're like talking about it. Way more common than to talk about, oh, somebody was so nice to me. Somehow these things were not mentioned as much. The achievements weren't celebrated. And if maybe there's somebody jealous, I'd rather not say. There's a really weird kind of setup that was on the separation basis. And therefore, because if we live the life out of separation, we don't have we don't have responsibility for what's happening to the other. We can try to be nice. If they're not nice to us, suddenly they're the bad guys and we are the victim. And here we're not seeing, oh no, actually it's a dynamic. We're always part of it. So this is separation mindset. And from that separation mindset, it's easier, or it's understandable that we cannot trust anymore, because we are not experience ourselves as one with everybody. We can say that, but as long, I noticed there's a lot of things. I have a consciousness, but as long as I don't feel it, it's not true. I mean, I can just, and I have a rational understanding of it, but there's an emotional disconnect. I don't live it. I just understand it. Two different things.
Yeah, they are two different things. And go to where, because in trusting, you have to kind of trust yourself before you can kind of trust others. I mean, you have to kind of know yourself before you can know others. Talk about the power of how we think, or the mind and the heart, and how we are affected by how we think, and how we are affected by the way we feel. Talk about the differences between thinking versus feeling.
Okay, so you can think any kind of thought, and the thoughts are triggering some sort of emotion, some sort of feeling. From my understanding, we are either aligned, where the heart and the mind is like aligned with the divine web that we're in, the divine field.
Yeah.
Then we are feeling good. And if we're feeling good, we're having a thought that is supporting that. So, to me, the feeling is the gauge. Where am I? Am I in alignment or not? And then the mind is there to help me direct my thinking, because the mind is there to give direction, and the heart is there to flow with what is. The heart is also showing me where I want to go, but I use my mind to direct me there. And I do that with my thought. If I have consistent thought that make me feel bad, that would be a sign like, oh, I'm totally out of alignment. That's not where I want to go. I'm not following my heart. Only when the things when I'm aligned and it feels good, I am actually following my heart. That's what I believe. With a mindset, of course, that I am connected to everyone. So I'm not here to walk over people or to hurt anyone. No. My intention is always happiness for all, win-win for all.
Highest good of you and the highest good
exactly. And with that kind of mindset, you can trust your emotions 100%. If your intentions are pure, I believe that, then trust your emotions.
Trust your emotions.
Trust your emotions, trust your feelings, and use your mind. Don't think, don't go down there with your thinking.
Yeah.
And plus, we all have an inner voice. It's just like this whole idea also, like where people were like, what, there's a voice talking to you, then you should go into some crazy house, because that's how we were set up once again, where truly, I believe that's again just my belief, but I think a lot of people that were in these houses were actually not crazy, but they just could see beyond. And because we were not allowed to see beyond for so many years, for decades, we were put into the situation of you follow a certain things, like when you look at the school system, you better not speak up and say, I don't agree with this. You don't question what you're being told and taught. You just suck it up and you regurgitate it like this is the truth. Where this is again where we are standing very much in authenticity is the truth. This is what we should celebrate, that we don't all think alike, that we don't all see things alike, that we should, this world wouldn't even look like as it does right now, where there's such strong oppositions of this is true or this is true. It would be like, okay, it's true for you, no problem. And then there wouldn't be any fighting and people would be more at peace and whatever. We're not there. We are here.
To me, you call it authenticity. There is a difference to me, like because we had these conversations where somebody who is doing really bad things could still argue that they're authentic doing it, because I think on bottom line is people are doing the best they can, however that looks to somebody else. Even the one doing terrible things, I'm sure they can to themselves justify why they're doing it. So they might say, I'm authentic.
But then let me clarify.
Yeah.
To me, authenticity is when you are authentic, you're coming from the heart. The heart knows we're all connected. The heart knows this is not about me punishing you, but me supporting you. So if we are believing that we are all one and that love is the one true answer, then my authenticity will never hurt anyone. And if it does, it wasn't on purpose and I will fix it. I will not walk away and just think, oh, fuck it. Excuse me. I would not just let it go. I would actually give the attention and my desire would be to make you feel good again. This is true authenticity to me, is being loved.
So we're talking about the same thing, just using different words.
Right.
Because when Corinna says coming from the heart, this is the same thing, like seeing that alignment. And I'm going to give you and your listeners this visual that I shared before, but it's this visual that I received, where I saw a light shining from right here, from the top. And when the light is shining from the top, if you imagine that, then there is really no shadow. It would be underneath my feet. There's no shadow cast. However, when the light is being shown on me from any angle, I am now casting a shadow. And there is this out of balance kind of idea that I'm living by. I feel like everything is either in balance or out of balance. So that's why I say alignment, where the light can shine from the top and I have the highest, the greatest potential to work with the divine, because that's in alignment. These out of shadow things is the injured ego, I call it. So this is the injured separation idea. And I made lists about this. This is on Isabel's page, like what does it mean to be? Like I give you an example. Yeah. Let's talk about love. There is a distortion on this side and a distortion on this side. The distortion on this side, let's say it's the feminine side, is that the others are more important than I am. I have more love for others than I have for myself. On the other side, the distortion is I have more love for myself than for others. So that in the middle here is I have as much love for myself as I have for others. Mm-hmm. Or let's say one is like, let's say direction or what is this on my list? Like one is direction. Let's say direction. It needs to allow direction, needs to set a direction, but also flow. If it is too distorted, I become the dictator and tell you this is how it has to go, or I either this or the make or break kind of approach. The other one, if the flowing doesn't have also the direction part in it, it becomes a blind follower. It doesn't even think about it, just does as it's being told. So the balance in there is both sides. But with the love, it's easier because it's true for both. But I feel like it's like we love both sides. Here we have direction and flow that both need to be in such a balance that I have a direction and flow, direction and flow, direction and flow. Kind of like it's like a breath, and not only direction and only this way, and not only flow. And now I have not even direction. So it's about coming back to balance. If that makes sense.
Coming back to balance and coming back to being okay with communicating yourself verbally out loud. Because earlier you mentioned about us verbally talking to ourselves. Now, clinically, in clinical psychology, they call that being schizophrenic. If you start talking to yourself, but
who was saying we're talking to ourselves?
That is, I did, and I think that was a setup. I think that is to make the person not be allowed to have a broader view. Because yes, there are those that are called schizophrenic and they can't actually connect to this realm anymore. That happens, right? So they just see all the other stuff and you talk to them and they're not even there. They're here physically, they're mentally not here. They are in a different realm. That's how I see that. So I don't really believe in having to lock up anybody. I mean, unless they really are in the schizophrenic area, I guess.
Yeah.
And even then, I don't know enough to really say that, because I'm sure I believe this world offers everything. Everything exists. So yeah, if you don't harm anyone and you just have your own world within you, I don't understand why they should be considered harmful. If they don't hurt themselves or others and they see some friend next to them that I don't see, okay, I'm okay with that.
Right.
It doesn't hurt me and it doesn't hurt them.
I think we can.
When children have invisible friends, you don't call them schizophrenic. You
exactly.
Say, they have their little they have their little
cute.
friend. It's cute. Right. It's cute. But when a 30-some-year-old person, male or female, starts talking to the wind, now all of a sudden we're schizophrenic and we have multiple personality disorders and all of this other nonsense.
I agree. But I think we are changing again right now, right? I think this is a very, very, very special time in the sense of actually becoming more ourselves than we've ever been able to, because the opposing energies that really did not want humanity to succeed are fizzling out. And now, I say this is everything. Please, anyone who's listening, this is only my belief. I'm not saying this is the truth. So don't, if it doesn't resonate with you, that's okay. And then we just have different beliefs. But in the way I see the world, we are coming to a very high frequency existence. And it's right now being cleansed. And that's why it looks as terrible as it does. And that's why lots of people are suffering. Because, as I like to say it in a visual, when you clean, and you got everything clean and you're like, this room is awesome. And then you turn the light really bright and you look into the corners and you're like, what is this? And then you have extra stuff you didn't see before. And this is where we are. All this extra stuff that lots of people didn't even see needs to be cleaned. And now it's being cleaned. And it's not necessarily fun, but it's super cool.
Yeah, it is super cool. And you mentioned cleansing. And this is for Corinna, because you mentioned you had a small, short little video about the chakra system. So can you briefly explain because a lot of people still don't really understand what the chakra system is and don't even know that they have such a thing. So can you explain what that is and why we should consider doing chakra cleansing?
Yeah, so if we believe, which again, my belief, life is energy, right? Nikola Tesla said that if you want to understand the universe, you see it as energy, frequency, vibration. I very much believe that is true. Life is energy and then materialized through our beliefs, actually. And nothing is as solid as we see it, right? So if we go down on the smallest particles, you see it's all moving. Everything is moving. So with that thought in mind, it is said that we have 7 main chakra centers, meaning there are energy centers in the body from the crown above. And they also, by the way, go with the rainbow colors.
Yes.
And with the musical notes. Everything is connected, and you find these interconnections in so many ways. But you can also, as we said, find it in the chakra. So we have the crown, which is indigo. No, it's not. It's violet. And then we have the third eye, which is indigo. We have blue on the throat. We have green on the heart. We have the solar plexus, yellow, and sacral, orange. And then bottom is red for the base chakra. Root chakra. These centers, these energy centers, have certain. They stand for certain. Thank you. Representations to behavior patterns, and also being that we take energy now again. If you believe it, energy can be held in things. As we know, a psychic can read, it picks up your glasses and says, oh, these glasses, whatever. So you actually, energy is stuck in everything. So in the body itself, let's say your father grabs you by the shoulder as a little boy and says, "Rah!" and you get all scared, then that, if you didn't heal that, anytime you'll be touched, even as an adult, at that shoulder part in a certain way, it will bring the memory of what you experience, and you get traumatized, not even knowing why. So in that sense, the energy centers will suck up stuff, and it is good to cleanse that. If we feel like some heavy energy in us, and a lot of people don't even look at energy, unfortunately, but I think all of that is changing again. So, but if you do look at energy, then you'll see like, I'm not feeling well right now, or, ooh, this room feels weird. And now you can cleanse it. So you can cleanse your room with Palo Santo, which is this great magical wood. Well, it's not magical, but
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah.
Palo Santo or holy wood, exactly. It's what it's called, Palo Santo or white sage. You can cleanse your space. You can cleanse your body. And now chakras, you can cleanse that easily. You can cleanse your chakras easily. You could do it by thought, but there are guided meditations that are really nice and helpful on YouTube, and there's a plethora. So you can just see whatever works for you, and they're like between 10 minutes and or even shorter if you want, and then get really long depending on what you want to do. But it helps to release the energies that are stuck in the centers of your body in order for you to feel more at peace and at ease and have more clarity.
And if I may add, it's also because there's an energy flowing through us all the time. The energy is in movement in our body. And if an energy center is stuck, then the energy has a harder time moving. And that can also create discomfort or even disease, where because the energy doesn't flow anymore and is stuck in a certain area, the body wants to allow the energy to flow. And cleansing the chakras is helping also that the energy keeps flowing.
Yeah, a lot of people don't understand that we have channels, or what's called the meridian system. It's something that we rarely even discuss in mainstream of health. And energy does get stuck.
It's acupuncture for you, right?
Yeah, I mean, energy can get stuck, and it can grow and grow and grow and grow. This is how a lot of people start to feel their aches and pains as they start to progress in life, and they have no earthly clue of how it got there until possibly they come across somebody like myself or you two that can explain that you might have some things going on that's been stuck inside of you for 10, 15, 20 years, or possibly a lifetime. And there are ways that we can rid ourselves or release. Dr. Roger Callahan created what's called thought field therapy, or some people call it tapping.
Yes.
Where you tap on certain, or emotional freedom technique by Gary Craig, and where you tap on certain pressure points, or acupressure points, or acupuncture points. Mm-hmm. And you can clear these things, like peeling the layer. They say peel the layer of the onion until you get to the core of yourself. You can kind of rid yourself of this stuck, heavy, dense energy. So now you can feel light, and you can feel like you're floating like a feather. And that's a great feeling as well. And many people don't get to experience that.
But here again, I feel like we are being supported in the outside realm of existence. The energies are pushing us to the truth within. So, and all we need actually, I think, is this is a free will world. So we have to ask for it. It won't be just given without us putting it out there into the field that we desire, right? So this is where it's so good to know the right questions, blah, 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 whatever. So if we have in our minds this feeling of, I hate my life, I don't like it, then actually this is how I see it. What we need to do is say, I want help. Just say it out into nothingness. Say it out into, because there are energies, and I believe in the angelic realm, and I believe that we are ancestors around us, and I believe in the family of light. They're all there, and they're all like, what do you need? What do you need? Tell me what you need. What do you need? So then say it. So, and as soon as we say, I need help, I want to feel better, I want direction, whatever the issue may be, I 100% say this with 100% belief it'll come.
Mm-hmm.
For anyone, for everyone. But we need
For
to
everyone, yeah.
put it out there. And then we'll be surprised how a movie will give us information. Whatever, we scroll through the phone and it will be something. And then we will be triggered by the heart because we put out the desire and it will be reflected back. And we'll be like, oh, this looks interesting. And then we'll start looking. And that's how we get the information. It'll come to us. We don't even have to look that much. We just have to put it out there, even just by casting the spell of a word. I need
The
help.
words, yes, and all words have an energy attached to it. No matter what the language is, the language is irrelevant because after you speak the word, it's all about the energy behind it or the intention. Because love can be spoken in 100 different languages, but it all means the same thing. You know.
You know what I find fascinating about that, though, when you're saying with the words.
Yeah.
Because being that we're we are bilingual at least, and so if we take the German word or the English word for hell, heaven and hell,
Yeah.
hell.
Yeah.
German word has the exact same spelling. It means right. So and there's a lot of them where it's completely opposite. One energy in the English word will put darkness into it, and the energy in the German word will put light into it.
That's right.
And that is fascinating to me in the sense of like, there I sometimes feel like maybe, what is this called? Blah, blah is bliss when you don't know. Because if I don't know that a word, ignorance, right? If I don't know a word has another energy, I will probably have my full on focus on, well, this is what it is. It's good, it's good, it's good. And even if it has some darkness in it, maybe I'm a little protected. I'm not sure about that part, but I'm always fascinated about how words, I feel, are manipulated. They were manipulated. People who came up with that stuff took every country as a test, and they said, here's your rules. Here we give you opposite rules. Here we give you those words. Here we make them opposite. And now let's see how you all work with that. That's
right.
how I think it's what happened at the beginning.
Well, right. And I think it's fascinating that for people that do have, can speak multiple languages, they can decipher, differentiate the language barrier and what words mean and what they don't mean, you know? So I think that's great that you two have that. Going back to the heart, we mentioned about the heart, and Isabelle, you had a really interesting kind of ideology regarding being vulnerable or using the word vulnerable. Talk about that, because you gave an interesting spin on why we possibly should choose a different word other than the word vulnerable.
Yes, exactly on that, because the word vulnerable comes from Latin vulnerare or whatever, which means to wound, which means the wound. And if we're looking at the definition of vulnerable, we find in danger. Other words for it, vulnerable is in danger or endangered, or what here, I actually put it up. Susceptible to physical or emotional attack. Okay, so
okay,
there is, if I keep saying, which I hear if I keep saying we need to be vulnerable, you want to be vulnerable, we are actually saying you need to allow yourself to be attacked. You need to allow yourself to be in danger, because that's at the core of the word. From my perspective, even though yes, people are using it like that, they're using it like open heart. I feel like what we are saying is you need to open your heart. You need to allow your heart to be open when they say you need to be vulnerable. Because vulnerable, the word itself, it does have a meaning. Now, the meaning, like I said, if I am in a situation and I feel I'm unsafe here and I feel like I have no protection, that's the time to say I feel vulnerable. Right. But the way it's being used and the way it's being suggested to be used is outside of its actual meaning. And I don't know how many people are just using it. I don't know if people are looking up what they're actually saying. Because sometimes I've noticed there are words showing up in the spiritual community
right.
that are not helpful, that are actually counterproductive to what we are all here wanting to create. Because I don't believe that anybody wants to be in danger or wants to feel endangered. So again, If I'm expressing I am in danger in a dangerous situation, sure, by all means, I feel vulnerable. If I feel like I want to have a deeper connection, I am open-hearted. I think it would be more beneficial for anybody to say, hey, we all need to be more open-hearted. We all need to be more heart-centered, or live from the heart. All of this is more what we actually mean nowadays when I hear the word vulnerable.
Everything goes back to the heart.
Yes, and I also
what
want
you
to
feel.
say, and I also want to say something else, which is if I use the word vulnerable with its actual meaning, in danger, I am also creating danger. I mean, this is how I understand it works. If I say something with a certain meaning, I put that certain meaning into the field. I spell that certain meaning into the field. And if the meaning is to be in danger, then I create myself enemies, and I participate in creating in some dangerous world. Because if we're all using this word, and we're actually all saying, I want to be in danger, the world, I feel like everything in life works, you ask and you receive. So majority of the time, the asking is not conscious. It has to do with the energy, with our truth that we broadcast energetically into the field, but they are being answered. So if I feel like I need to be in danger, some volunteer will show up and show me that I'm right. Because the field, of course, that's what I said. The majority of the time it's on subconscious level, but the field responds without judgment. This is what I learned for myself by watching my life and by healing. The field responds without judgment. It says all the time, it says, sure, you can have that. So we want to be really conscious what we are spelling into the field.
Right. What you're spelling, because it's like what they call magic spell through your words.
There's a reason why it's the same word, I'm sure.
Right. I mean, I've heard, your tongue is like a magic wand. You got to be kind of careful what you ask for.
Yeah. And I heard that the universe doesn't know, or the field doesn't know sarcasm. It doesn't understand. No, it just understands what we're talking about. Yes.
Yeah.
So that we can all, I think, generally as human beings, we can be a little more conscious,
mindful.
Yes, that is the same thing to me. Conscious and mindful is the same thing. Have a little more awareness of what we are actually saying.
Yeah. Being self-aware of your self-talk and
that too.
Yeah, self-talk, and being more aware of your self-talk, being more aware of the words that you speak about yourself, the words that you speak about others. Because like you said, the universe doesn't discriminate, and it doesn't hold judgment on anyone or anything. It kind of molds and shapes your world according to what you say, speak, and feel.
It's a return, yes.
Yeah, right. It's a return. It's like a boomerang. Whatever you throw out is going to come back to you, and sometimes tenfold, depending on what your intentions are. So that's great for all of us to know. Let's get to music, because both of you are artists. I have a music background as well, from a long eons ago. Why is music so important to you? And just talk about how powerful music can be for all of us.
So, music is the number one energetic existence that doesn't have judgment, and it has every feeling existing through its melodies and words. So we have the opportunity to get supported in any direction with music. And when we all have different tastes. Of how we grew up is already kind of influencing how our taste, I think, becomes. But then we get older and we find our own, and we mix it in with the old, whatever. But it is whatever touches the heart. And somebody once said, when a song is being created, it already knows who's going to be touched. I love that thought. The idea of that any creation already knows where it's going to land, where it's going to be seen and felt and understood. and all of it exists with reason, right? While we write music that is purely supportive in words and whatever the melodies is, but word wise, it will always support you subconsciously or consciously. It will be on your side. There's a lot of lyrics out there that do not do that. That's okay. They're meant to be there, because I remember when I was a kid, I was touched by so many songs that I can't sing anymore nowadays because they don't support me and I don't want to do it, or change the lyrics. But they had its place, and they made me feel good in those times when I was lost, when I was a teenager, and I couldn't identify with human behavior or whatever, but I could identify with music. So the songs and the lyrics, or I sometimes didn't even understand the lyrics, but the melody was good enough. I sang along. And that feeling that we get in music, I mean, I think probably an artist gets that too when they draw or paint or whatever. In that moment when pure creation is experienced, that is the highest you can be, I think, right? One of them anyway. It's super, super high experience for anyone. Everyone knows that is an artist in any direction, even if whatever your creative outlet is, we all will agree, I'm sure, that there is something very magical in that feeling. So with music, it just goes a little broader, because like if you're an artist and you paint, you're living that in the moment. But when you create music, then you're putting it out there for others to live it too. The artist paints a picture and they give you something that you by vision can identify. You get a feeling through the vision. But music, it gives you singing along, dancing along, then being all in your mind through the words, and the melody will be like flowing in a river. It will be just like you're going into a flow, and you can use it when you're angry and you get a song that makes you feel, and you feel so good to feel that anger, and then that song is over and you feel that. Or are you so sad and you listen to that sad song and you cry, and it feels so good to cry, because it's almost like, I've known people, they say it's an excuse. They don't know how to cry. They don't feel comfortable. When they put a certain song on, it makes them feel right to cry. So again, it's a supportive emotion. I feel extremely lucky that I love music and that it was brought to me in my childhood, and that I am a musician. And I think all of us can consider ourselves lucky when we are in touch with music.
To me, music.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, to me, music is important because it helped me to, it's almost like I'm channeling a message through the music and through the words that are coming out. So the majority of those channeled songs that I had, they were a message to me first. For me to look at where I am or whatever. It's the same with art. The art that I created without thought. That was for me to get a message here. And then I'm just sharing everything that I'm bringing out. Music is, like you were saying, we are vibrating, and music responds, or we are responding to the music because it's a frequency. We are a certain frequency always, and then the music is a frequency responding. It's either in harmony or not. We can feel that, whether it's right or wrong or whatever. And then the music that supports our crying or our happiness or our anger, sure, it's all there. So music's really the most uniting thing out there, I would say.
I like to call it magical.
It is magical. Yeah, music is magical, which is the reason why it makes people feel all these different emotions at any given time. No matter what the melody is, no matter what the lyrics are, they can spark an emotion. They can spark an emotion, whether it's something very, very slow or something that's very, very fast and upbeat, like a rave party. You're still going to get some sort of feeling out of it. I mean, that's the universal language of music. It touches everybody, whether it's someone like Bob Marley. I mean, I've learned to really, now that I'm older, because I didn't listen to reggae much when I was younger, but as I started growing more in tune with different types of genres of music, I grew to appreciate it even more. And he has such an impact on the whole planet because of what the music made other people feel in the moment. And
that's like really good lyrics, I believe. I don't know too much about him, but as far as I know, right, it's also with the words.
Yeah. Well, yeah. He was definitely a global figure. With the musical genre of reggae. And so again, music has that sort of impact, if you will, on us as human beings. Because, like you said, all of us are a frequency, and some music make us happy, and then some music may sound like feel like scratches on a board, you know.
For some, and then for others, it feels awesome.
And if right,
yeah,
exactly.
I find that always fascinating.
Exactly. I want to get to the art. You two have some artwork here, if I may, and this is again coming directly from your website. I'm going to pull this up on the screen here. Now, this is some of Corinna's artwork, and there was a few that kind of stood out for me, and I'm going to zoom in on a couple of them here, and you can kind of tell me what you were kind of thinking in the moment here. So I'm bringing this one up here. Now, can you describe this?
Yeah, so thank you. That's so cute that you're putting this one up. This is special to me because I was sitting in the airplane flying to Germany, and I thought, I'm going to draw my eye. And so I kept looking in the mirror, and it's like a 12-hour flight, so a nice amount of time. And I never knew that there's these little veins of red, that when I look closely into my eye, I'm like, ooh, what's this? But I drew it, so that's why it's there. But then, so once the eye was there, the rest of them, I never know where that comes from. Actually, what I like to do a lot is I just go like, and then I look at what could this be? And then I just start to use a color and I go into it. But that's how that came.
And then I have this one here. Let's see if I can zoom in on this one here. So we're gonna go here with the dragon right here. The dragon, and then I don't know if this is some kind of fruit right here. So what are we looking at here?
Okay, so you said the fruit. So I saw it as, and this is open to interpretation because not even I know really what this is.
Yeah.
Again, like a lot of times I just do like outlinings and I think, what could this be? And I start making it to be something. But I do know that this part, I mean, you don't see what I'm pointing at. The
flower part.
It's a flower, yeah. It's a stem with a flower that I think you called it a fruit.
Yeah.
I saw it as a flower and its petals, but I don't know. And and then the three animals, so I agree with you. I see a dragon and the other two, I don't know. It has a crown. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I should know, but I don't.
No,
I like to draw kind of detailed. So I enjoy, like, for example, I enjoy doing trees with other branches and stuff, and it takes a while, but it's Sorry, I guess that's all I can say about it.
We need the one who studied art. I have talked to somebody who did study art. He looked at some of my paintings and explained to me what it means, because psychologically there's meaning to it.
Yeah, well, Isabelle, here's some of your artwork here. I like this one right here. Can you explain
that's one of my newer
one
ones. This is one of the newer ones where I started to, I recently started to actually draw what I see it first and then I draw it. Because I used to not think, just sit down and start drawing. This was done with intention.
You saw in your mind's eye, you mean, right?
Yeah, it's done with intention. And what you're looking at is, so from my perspective, we are all the trees of life. Mm-hmm. I am a tree of life.
Yep.
And in this tree, the apple, I had thought about why is the apple so important? Blah, 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 blah. The energy field around us, around a human being, that can be looked up, this is science, is like a torus field. And this field, this is what I'm drawing there, looks like an apple. So it goes from up and then down into the feet again. And
That's
out.
Right. That's right.
So here we have the human being, I have my little yellow figure in the apple. So it's a depiction of the tree of life that we are. It's on the bottom, it's connected to earth with a part of it in the center of earth, and on the top it is connected to the sun. So it's actually the depiction of the connection between heaven and earth, if you want. Mm-hmm. And then the human being is in the middle of it, with the energy flowing in up and down and in and out, right?
Yeah.
And the butterflies are representing the transformation of humanity. And there is a little bit of gold in there because the golden tree is also means something to me. It has to do with protection, and it has to do with higher consciousness. So this is a depiction of the tree of life turning golden in transformation as a human being. Blah blah blah. So yeah.
Wow. Yeah, and lastly, I'll go to this one right here. I see
Another
some
one drawn with.
Yeah, and I see some of the sacred geometry shapes
These are
right
the 5
here.
platonic symbols.
Platonic solids.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. This
explain this one here.
Yeah, also drawn with intention. This is the grounded divine feminine energy. So from my perspective, like I said earlier, every human being has both these energies within, but they were made gender specific because they were saying men don't cry and women they can't even use their mind, like from the 50s, 60s commercials I saw, a woman has a car breakdown, now she's lost because why would she be able to fix that? She needs a man for that. So it was very much some more for men and some more for women. And the feminine side I see as like we are getting back in touch with the emotions, with the intuition. That's kind of all this softer, the feminine energy, which again is in every human being. Yes. So this, as we're going back to being in touch with our emotions and intuition, this is the awakened feminine energy that is also part of a tree. You see that maybe?
Yeah.
So she is kind of a tree. Her hands are already getting tree. She has the golden light from the top and the platonic solids around, because the platonic solids, to me, they're part of the matrix, I'm going to call it the 3D world, the setup of the 3D world. Mm-hmm. So there's the water around her, which is like the sign, the flow. And what is this? Flowers, I think. And then there's a little butterfly in the tree. I don't know. You saw it maybe. There's actually a cocoon in the tree.
Yeah, I see.
There's a little cocoon, and the butterfly came out of it.
Yeah.
So
right here. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's again this transformation of humanity, the depiction of transformation of humanity with the empowered feminine. Mm-hmm.
I like all of that. You two have some great insight on, even though one can't really explain it, but the other one can, but the artistry is still great. The artistry is great. I love it. So for the last couple of minutes that we have, because I was curious about this here. You mentioned sage, which I have right here. But you also mentioned another, I guess it's an herb called
it's a wood. I get it. It's wood.
Palo Santo.
It's a word.
Yeah, it's from
Palo Santo. Okay.
Palo Santo is a wood.
It's called the holy wood.
And when I looked it up, it said that it's a South American, and the trees in South America, and the oil only builds when the tree branch falls off. Which I love that idea, that the oil doesn't actually build itself while it's alive, but once it falls off, it starts to build. And it's the oil that you can smell. This has a very specific scent. Okay. Really awesome. I love it. So even if you just like smell the wood, you can smell Palo Santo. And then and what I also, when I looked it up, it was that I guess white sage cleanses all energies, and Palo Santo only cleanses negative energy. It keeps the positive that was already there, and white does everything. But as we all may know, when something gets out of our field, cleansed out, is meant to be there, it'll just come back. So it's not like we don't have to be worried like, oh, I had some good energy and now I moved it away. It won't stay away if it's meant to be here,
I can tell you a quick story with the Palo Santo because I really think it's very powerful.
Yeah.
You burn it and you can smudge yourself, yes, but you can also smudge rooms. And I had a moment where I became aware that every time I went into the bathroom here where I live, my energy shifted. There were different thoughts coming, and there were lower frequency thoughts, so not positive thoughts. At some point, I was very aware. It happens when I go into the bathroom. And then I smudged the room, and that ended that. So there is thoughts also lingering in rooms, and there's energy lingering, and we can we can actually get rid of it with sage and Palo Santo.
You can cleanse the room.
Exactly.
It's another one of those energy shifters.
I want to say one thing, because that's also helpful. I think we can start calling spirituality energetic, the energetic side of the world, because sometimes people are like, ooh, spirituality. But really, we're just talking about energy. That's it.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you about that. I have the question right here. What is spirituality to both of you?
Yeah, that is energy.
It's working with energy.
Yeah, and that's why it's actually the majority, if not everything. I had discussions with an astrophysicist before, and and everything I said wasn't as woo-woo. There is even scientific proof. You can prove that these things are happening. There have been so many experiments done on energy work, if you want. So it was just disconnected again. A lot of things don't make sense anymore because they were too disconnected. But we're getting back to the connection. So we're on the right track here, all of us, humanity, I mean. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah. As we wrap up here, and I want to thank both of you for taking the time out on this rainy afternoon here in Southern California.
Yeah, it is totally raining. I love it.
So thank you so much for coming on the Kennetic Hour. How can the people find you too? Where do we go to find our truth?
OurTruthMusic.com is our website. Please go there. It helps us also, you supporting us if you go to our website. Yes, you can also go to YouTube
or Instagram or
Instagram.
Facebook.
We have 2 different pages. All of those sites that we also have are on the website. But I would suggest to anyone, start with our website. Check it out. There's the music, there's art, there's a lot from our speeches. And
the only thing that's not there that you will find more on Instagram on both of our pages will be like certain, we have our own Instagram pages, even though it's under Our Truth. Okay. And so I might just do like you guys, I was thinking today, blah, blah, blah. And I'm talking into the camera. And then I might even do it in German very often. So I'll have it in English and in German.
Yeah,
and
I saw that.
And Isabel does it too. She's like, oh, look, I drew a new picture. So we kind of have these as 2, but there is more stuff that you might not find on the website, but otherwise everything else is on the website.
Yeah, majority.
Some things are YouTube,
almost some things are Instagram.
Yeah,
but it's a good way to start. OurTruthMusic.com is a good way, a good starting point.
OurTruthMusic.com, and you can find both of them on your social media. Last question for both of you, and both of you can answer individually. What does life mean to you?
Can I? Yeah. Love. To me, life is love. It is the true expression of love, and then it gets messed up through our way of looking at it. Through my judgment, it becomes less than. But when I see nature itself, the animals, any animals, and I like to include the cockroach because I think it doesn't get enough love.
Yes.
But all animals, and that's life itself to me, and they respond immediately to love. Like the more I talk to everything. I talk to all the nature. I talk to a flower as much as I will talk to the cockroach, and I will talk to anything. And I can tell I believe they don't understand my words, but they understand my intention. And because I always love them automatically, I feel loved by them. So animals generally run up to me, or like the bugs listen when I tell them, don't be here, like come sit here so I can catch it, whatever. They listen. And I feel like this is what life is. Life is love. And now we just need to identify what's love to you. And to me, love is a very supportive existence that wants me to feel good and wants me to feel valued. That's what love is to me and life.
Got it. Yes.
This is such an interesting question. I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, what is life to me? And I'm having a difficult time to just answer it. I do think life is about love, which to me is appreciation, yes, but it's also about expansion. It's about overcoming the dark parts that I had, maybe becoming more sovereign, having more peace, having more power in creation, or it's so many different things. If I had to really put it like I would have to think about it. Now I said a lot of things, but I'm going to ponder it.
That's okay.
It's interesting.
And while Isabel's pondering, Kenan, I just need to tell you, I love your smile.
Yes, it's
like every time you smiled, it brightened up. Seriously, you because I find that fascinating anyway. When I walk on the street and somebody has a straight face or whatever, and I smile and they smile, and it becomes a different character. It's like you wouldn't even know what's inside of that person until they smile, and then you see. And yours is beautiful. Just had to say that because every time you did it, I was like, oh.
Well, thank you for that. Smile can speak 1,000 words. So, so thank you for that.
Sometimes, thank you.
Absolutely. And since we're on the love tip, I have this right here. I don't know if you can see this right here.
Yeah, it's the tuning fork.
The tuning fork.
Yeah.
This specific one is the. I don't know if you can hear that or not.
Nice.
This is the 528 hertz, which is considered the love frequency. So I don't know if people can hear this. It's pretty light. I'd have to turn the volume up. But this is healing. It's healing.
Yeah.
So, and I have it against the microphone so people can hear it. It's pretty light. But everything goes back to love. No matter where it's coming from or who it's coming from, everything at the end of the day goes back to love.
The greatest feeling. Love.
It is. And I want to thank both of you for coming on and come back because
it was an absolute pleasure, Kenan.
Because I have a few other things here that I wasn't able to bring up. Actually, when you do come back, I want to go further into the masculine and feminine energies. And
I will bring my list.
Yeah, and because again, a lot of people never get into this kind of conversation on a regular basis because we're so kind of divided. You hear about the gender wars and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, both of us have masculine and feminine characteristics. It's just what it is.
It's human nature.
It's our human nature. And so I want to go.
Beautiful.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, it's beautiful and we might as well embrace it. But we can do this on another day because it is actually quite a subject of taking masculinity and femininity, what it actually stands for.
That's right.
Within,
that's right. And so next time you come back, I definitely want to go into that and a whole lot more. So thank you two for coming on the Kennetic Hour. It's greatly appreciated. Both of you are beautiful souls. So thank you.
Takes one to know one, Kenan. Thank you.
And thank you for the smile compliment as well. It's greatly appreciated. And to everyone listening and watching, thank you for tuning into the Kennetic Hour. Once again, go to my YouTube channels, the Kennetic Hour, KENNETIC. Go to OurTruthMusic.com and check out Corinna and Isabelle. Thank you so much. And to everyone listening, till next time.
Goodbye.